Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be answering your questions. So I thought it would be a good idea to go and peruse through the comment section on my social media and on YouTube and just grab a few of your questions, and we can just hang out today and I will answer whatever it is you want to know. So this first question is from Brittany Ferreira. Hey, Brittany. And you said, was the COVID-19 an event that caused massive awakening? Yes, absolutely. I think that we can look at this in a lot of different ways. But the reality is, and I think the tough reality is that human beings progress when we are challenged, when we experience tension or contrast. It's kind of like when you're in your comfort zone and nothing's really challenging you, you're just kind of getting by. Things can become very decadent, and you can actually atrophy in a lot of areas of your life because you're just not really being challenged. You're just not being, it's kind of like a muscle, you're not being strengthened. And so this is exactly what the pandemic has done, is it has pressured us. It has made us question everything. It has driven a wedge between family members, between friends, and we now live in this strange form of tribalism with people choosing political sides and going against each other. That just seems like tribal warfare more than anything productive. And so more than ever as a society, we are having to go inward and develop in an inward way, because we can no longer get that comfort, get that security, and even get that inspiration from outside of ourselves, from other people telling us what to do, celebrities, politicians, people that we admire. And I think that's more obvious than ever, is that the external world is now becoming extremely chaotic, and it's becoming just very different than it was even a few years ago. And so when there's that much change, we kind of have a choice. We can start to delete parts of ourselves and dissolve parts of ourselves to fit in with where society is going and where the external world, the material world, seems to be leading us and changing. Or we can go inward and we can ask ourselves, how does this feel? What is the truth? What really is the truth? And we can start to develop ourselves and our lives around what we feel the truth is. And this is what everybody has been challenged to do. And some people are more prepared for it than others, unfortunately. And the reason why that is kind of a mystery. Why can some people think independently, and why are other people so keen to align with a tribe? So, did the pandemic cause a massive awakening? Yeah, I think so. I think that if you were to look and see how many people have had a crash course in conspiracy theory or had a crash course in corruption, and I actually think that conspiracy theories and the idea of government corruption, even the idea of the occult in society, has become so much more well known now. A lot of people are educated on just how intense corruption is, Even if they tend to think it's more on one side or the other, they're still a lot more aware of what corruption is now than they were probably, 10, 15 years ago. And it's been so pressurized that I think the pandemic has definitely been an awakening event for a lot of people. Certainly, I think that the election in 2016, between Trump and Clinton, I think that really was also a very divisive time that in a way kind of prepared a lot of people for this. And the last thing that I want to say about this observation that you have, Brittany, is that one of the reasons why this is all going on, so one of the reasons why we're seeing what you could call endgame cards being played, and an endgame card is basically a card that is played to try to consolidate power very quickly or try to get society to move in a certain way and dominate society. So an endgame card is usually something like war, a virus or a pandemic, a UFO alien invasion. I think that environmentalism, extreme ideas about the planet dying and things like that, or that idea being warped and distorted into something else, is also another example of this. And what it is it keeps everybody, what endgame cards do is they basically keep you in this idea that everything is going to fall apart at any moment. That's what war does. That's what viruses or pandemics do. That's what an alien invasion potentially would do. That's what you think if your planet's going to fall apart tomorrow. It's all about keeping people in survival mode. It's all about keeping people in fear. And so the end game cards are these cards that very powerful people play that keep humanity down, that keep humanity fearful, that stop them from rising and coming together. Another good one is race wars and dividing people up in as many ways as possible. So making men hate women and women hate men, making each race hate each other. And that is another way of also creating mass fear and pain and trauma in society to keep society from waking up, to keep them trapped and embroiled in ancestral wounds and personal wounds so that we never look up to see who is really behind that curtain, who is really running the show. We're too busy fighting amongst ourselves to look there. And so the endgame cards are these massive events that are done by people in power to sustain their power and to stop humanity from awakening, because the moment humanity begins to awaken, obviously their power dissolves, because the kind of power that they have is the kind of power that only works in the dark. It's the kind of power that only works when you are hiding. So they have to keep this going. And so the idea is to have one false flag after another, eventually ending with the alien invasion flag, or the false alien invasion flag, or the alien threat flag, or the alien savior flag, which eventually creates a new religion for mankind that involves interdimensionals and aliens and Atlantis and our ancient past and all of this kind of stuff. So basically, these traumatic events are used to craft and shape and form a new society. And it's a way of social engineering. And we have to wake up to that. So was COVID-19 an event that caused a massive awakening? Yeah, absolutely. I think it worked as a way to awaken a lot of people, but I also think it also pressurized people to potentially make the wrong decisions and go further and further away from themselves. And I think that's what these times are all about separating the wheat from the chaff in a way. And in that kind of pressure makes you choose one path or the other. So it's an endgame card. And I've gone into this in intense detail on my website. There's a lot of things on YouTube that you really can't go too deeply into. So if you want more conversations like this, definitely check out my website where I do a bunch of Q&As like this, and we just go into every topic imaginable. But I am going to dive into one more question today. Okay. This question is from Oya La, and you said, would you address the mechanism which turns on and off to psychic connection? You know, like where is the switch manifested? Is it purely mind or physical too? So, yeah, one of the strangest things I think about as human beings is that you'll have some person that's super psychic, super sensitive, aware of everything, and then there's people that seem to be not aware of it at all. And then there's this way to develop it. And so the great mystery is, how do we develop? How do we turn that psychic switch on? How do we turn on our higher awareness? Because truly our life becomes so much richer and so much better when we become more psychic, more intuitive. We really function at a loss and at a deficit if we're not trying to regain our psychic faculties, because psychic information it's not necessarily like you're sitting on your rainbow cloud talking to a spirit guide, and it's just totally unusable for day-to-day life. That's not the case at all. Psychic development just means you have more perception. It means that any situation that you are in, you perceive more of it. You get more information. Specifically, you're tapping into a higher spectrum of information. So really, when we're not developing psychically, when we're not developing our intuition, we're just not accessing the spread and spectrum of information that we could. That's really what's going on there. So how do we turn our psychic abilities on and off? Well, Oyala, there's no switch. There's no magic button. There's no switch that turns your psychic abilities on and off, unfortunately. There is only the development of them. There's only taking the time to develop them. And there's something that I teach in my Inner Mystic program, which is a psychic development program that I teach as well. I'll link that below. And it is that there's something called psychic unfoldment. And so once you begin to create the correct atmosphere in your mind and the correct atmosphere in your body, your abilities begin to turn on. And how they turn on and how they unfold is completely different for everyone. Some people begin their unfoldment and they are powerful clairvoyants. They're getting visions, and it's a very visual experience for them. On the other hand, some people turn their abilities on and they're just feeling, they're crying, they're laughing, they feel like they're on an emotional roller coaster. They're getting memories popping up from years ago that they don't even know why they're popping up into their mind. Other people just start getting downloads of information. They have no idea where it came from. So every single individual is going to unfold and have abilities come forward that are, it's unique to you, it's unique to them. There literally is no one size fits all for development, because every person is so unique. And also, a lot of our psychic ability and the specific talents that we have actually go beyond this life. And this is maybe the most interesting thing about it, is that when we start tapping into that higher ability, we are actually tapping into a part of ourselves that is timeless. And so when these abilities come forward, what we're really noticing is that this is our legacy. This is our soul's legacy of development. So everything is going to be very unique to you in the lives that you've lived, but there's also a level where we develop together and a group can develop together, and the experiences are very similar too. It's just the order and the intensity is different. But the main thing that I could say for the beginner or for someone that's just trying to understand the process is that the fundamental reason why we don't develop psychically, why we don't have this higher perception, is because we're not in alignment. What does that mean, we're not in alignment? It means that we are not actually vibrating, or our mind is not thinking thoughts, and our emotional body is not feeling emotions that are in sync with our higher self. For example, if we are unable to rest our mind, so if you're unable to take a break and meditate and observe your thoughts and your feelings and slow your mind down, then you're not really going to be in alignment. You're probably going to be moving too fast, and you could probably have belief systems that are actually negating your development, especially if you have negative beliefs that are telling you that you're not good enough or too hard on you. That inner critic is a really big one for stopping us from our development. So usually our mind is running amok so badly that by the time spirit tries to flow into us, our mind kind of chips up all of that spiritual information, kind of like it's going into a wood chipper. So we don't even realize that we're doing this because our society is so obsessed with the mind that it becomes overactive, and we think that's normal. And so many people live with like anxiety just beneath the surface. We just endure it. But that's, psychic ability is about precision. The more precise you are in creating a higher holy state in your being, the more information you're gonna get. The other thing too is really not having your overall energy body, including your mind as well, but really your entire being is not peaceful enough. So it's kind of like, if you can imagine your higher self, your spiritual self, its energy is very high and precise, and it would translate to like peace and love and relaxation and flow and harmony. And so that's how it would feel if we were just to leave everything behind and just align with that. We would be, oh my gosh, it'd be so peaceful. Like if you think about some of the near-death experiences that people have, and they leave this lower plane, and they're just in this warmth and this feeling of love and this feeling of peace, and the mind isn't trying to control everything. It's kind of like just immersed in this beautiful energy, this holy space, your Christ consciousness. And so that is the feeling that we have to develop inside of ourselves, actually. We have to frequency match. We have to match that. So we want to create those same feelings within our body now. And that is what allows it to resonate and to connect and to enmesh. So if we're out here thinking about everything that's going to stress us out, if we're feeling every depressive moment, if we're feeling extreme anxiety, we are just not generating the right energy to be in that space. And so we have to train ourselves to hold a higher energy, which I call holy emotions, or the holy space. And that is really how we begin to develop. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. As always, all my love your way. Don't you forget to like, comment, subscribe, and if you like these Q&As, please check out my website where I do these every 2 weeks and I just focus on your questions. See you next time.